Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be looking at how to complete the square to solve quadratic equations. And mainly the, the basic idea is if you have some equation um, like x squared, you'll have to forgive my handwriting because I'm using a mouse, but let's say you have x squared plus bx equals some other number out here. We'll just say like a. We can complete this as a perfect square if we add this onto both ends. So if we write x squared plus bx, and b is just a number, but if we add on to that a b over 2 squared, if we add that to both sides, so we would add it over here on the right as well, a plus whatever b over 2 squared is, then it forms a perfect square on the left. So this side over here is a perfect square, which means that we can take the square root of it and get something nice. Um, so let's say you had a x squared plus 4x. Then to figure out what we would add on here, we would just take that b, which is in this case 4, divide it by 2. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. And then square it. 2 times 2 is 4. So we would add on a 4 right here and a 4 on the other side as well. Okay, let's take a look at a few examples. I also here kind of, we have this as a diagram, so you can look at that and try to work through that if you'd like to, kind of logically. And then also, and I guess we just did it, but here's algebraically what it would look like, which is kind of what we already did right up here. Okay, let's take a look at a few examples, so how we might use this with some problems. So first of all, with this first problem, we're just going to solve the equation by using square roots. And this is pretty straightforward. We're just going to factor whatever that thing is on the left, and then we'll be able to solve. So remember, when we're factoring these, we can set it up kind of like this, and we see that we'll have an x on the left. Since we have two pluses, we'll have two pluses in here. And then this 4 on the end, what times itself gives us 4? Because for these problems, we're going to be getting the exact same binomial twice. So for these, we can just say, okay, well, 2 times 2 gives us 4. So we can write a 2 and a 2 here. And we can see, oh yeah, if we added these together, 2 plus 2, we would also get 4. So it satisfies it. Okay, and all this equals 2. So really, we could rewrite this if we wanted to as x plus 2 squared equals 2. And at this point, we can take the square root of both sides, and that's why it's saying to use square roots. So if we take the square root of the left side, then x plus 2 squared, the square root of x plus 2 squared is just x plus 2. And on the right, we'll have the square root of 2. And it doesn't come out to be a nice number, so we'll just leave it like that. And we should say it's a plus or minus square root of 2. So let's do that real quick. Plus or minus square root of 2. And then we can subtract 2. So we'll have x equals plus or minus square root of 2 minus 2. Um, and you're wondering, well, isn't there supposed to be two answers for this? And there are. Remember, we have the plus and the minus. So our first answer would be maybe positive square root of 2 minus 2. The other one would be negative square root of 2 minus 2. So they're in there. You can try numbers 2 and 3 on your own. So same basic idea. You're trying to take the square root of this when it's factored. Okay, let's look at another problem. So for these problems down here, we're supposed to find the value c that makes the expression a perfect square. So we're trying to figure out what we would add on to the end to make this a perfect square, and then we can write it as a square of a binomial like we did right here. So we're going to do that. So remember, to figure that out, we have to take b over 2 and square it. Well, our b in this case is 14. So 14 over 2 squared, 14 divided by 2 is 7. 7 squared is 21. So our c in this case is 21. So we can write c equals 21. Or we can write it out as y squared minus 14y plus 21. Again, you just take half of whatever your b is and square it. So 7 squared. Oh, 7 squared is not 21. Glad I caught that before y'all did. 7 squared is 49. 49. All right. And then we want to write it as a square of a binomial. So in other words, we can do y, since this is a plus and this is a minus, we'll just have a minus here. With these perfect squares, you always take the sign of the first sign to go into your binomial. And then what is the square root of 49? 7. So we can write it as y minus 7 squared. So we're kind of factoring it, skipping a step there, but it would be y minus 7, y minus 7, if we put it in like two sets of parentheses. So y minus 7, y minus 7, or just y minus 7 squared. And you can do the same exact thing with numbers 5 and number 6. 17, when you divide it by 2, it's not going to come out to be a nice number, but it's the exact same idea. All right, 24, that's going to work nicely because 24 divided by 2 is just 12. So just square that. You can figure out your c really easily. All right, let's actually solve an equation by completing the square. So let me show you how we can do this. Notice that there's already a number here. Now, what we want to do is to get rid of that number so that we have to complete the square. So we'll add that to the right side. So we'll have r squared minus 6r equals positive 2. 0 plus 2 is 2. Okay, and then we can complete the square over on the left side. So remember, to complete the square, we take half of our b, which is 6 in this case. So half of 6 is 3, and then square it. 3 times 3 is 9. So we'll have r squared minus 6r sorry, there was a yellow jacket that flew up in my room. Came out of nowhere, but I beat it. I took it out. All right. So half of 6, 3. 3 squared is 9. So we'll do a plus 9. The only thing is we have to do plus 9 on both sides. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So we can have a 2 plus 9 on the other side. 2 plus 9 is an 11, because we already had a 2 over there. So when we added 9 over here, we have to add 9 over here as well. Now um, we can write this as a perfect, or a square of a binomial, which is just r minus square root of minus 3 squared equals 11. Take the square root of both sides, and we will get r minus 3 on the left, and on the right we'll have plus or minus the square root of 11. Plus or minus the square root of 11. We add 3 to both sides, and we'll get r equals plus or minus the square root of 11 plus 3. And that is our solution for this problem. So if you wanted an exact answer, you could take the square root of 11 and add it to 3. Or take the negative square root of 11 and add it to 3, and you would get your two answers. Now for problems like this over here, I would go ahead and multiply out your terms before you begin. So I would do y times y is y squared, and y times 1 is y equals 3/4. And then you're in a place where you can complete that square. So half of 1 is 1/2, and 1/2 squared would be 1/4. So 1/4 would be what you would add in there to complete that square. And when you add a fourth over here, you'll see, oh, you get exactly 1. 3/4 plus 1/4 is exactly 1. So that one kind of works out nicely. For this problem right here, I might take that 3x squared and subtract it over here first. And then you'd be able to solve it. Let's see, for a problem like this, what I would do is get rid of that first number out front. Notice with these problems, we didn't have a number in front of our r squared. So to get rid of that number in front of the t squared, we could just divide the whole thing by 2 to get rid of that. So we could rewrite it as like t squared plus 8t minus 3 equals 0. So that would be a fix. For this one right here, you could multiply it out first, so 3x times 2x, 3x times 10. But then you're going to have like a 6x squared. Do the same thing, divide by the 6 all the way across to get rid of it. And then do the same steps that we did on number 7. Complete the square, and then take the square root of both sides. And guys, best way to do this, or best way to get good at this, is just practice. So practice, practice, practice. And you know what? We're not going to look at that in this video. So we'll end it there. Thanks guys for watching. I hope this helped a little bit when it comes to how to complete the square to solve quadratic equations. It's kind of a neat little method to figure out some problems. Anyway, I hope this makes your life just a little bit easier. But thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.